Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, What the Beck. Sorry about the quality of today's video. I have to film at my parents' house and I totally forgot all of my equipment, including my microphone and my phone stand so that I can record. So I'm borrowing my dad's tripod and it's really echoey in here because everything is in the center of the room as we're repainting this room. But this is the only place that was good enough to film, so here we go. I was contacted through my business email about a review for these Parkoo erasable gel pens, and these are actually from an Amazon seller, and the customer service, I guess, or the person who contacted me was actually very polite and understanding in that I wanted to make an honest review. I've actually filmed a pen review before, but I deleted it by accident, so I never actually got to post it. So this is my first pen review where I've actually not paid for the item, and I'm guessing that if I were to see these on Amazon, I might buy them, but I'll figure that out by the end of this video if it's worth the money that it says it costs. So it comes in a pretty standard package for pens, and I got these around 5 or 6 days after the seller sent them to me, and I think that's pretty decent. They weren't on Amazon Prime, or if they were, I didn't buy them through my account, so I don't know if they're on Amazon Prime. If they are, I'll just put a text on the video right here and you'll know if they are. So the first thing I want to look at is the color range, because y'all know I'm a sucker for rainbows. I love rainbows so much. So the colors listed on the package, oh I actually missed one. The colors listed on the package are black, red, blue, blue, black, green, light green, orange, pink, light blue, and purple. So as you can see, I've rainbowified them. And let's just go through and do a little swatch. So here is our full range. See if I can zoom in a little bit. These are the colors we have. I know my lighting is really bad right now. It's yellow, but I have tested these in light, like white light before, and they are pretty true to their color name. And I just wanted to say that this light blue is actually pretty dark for all the light blues that I've seen. It might just be that they weren't as saturated as these are, but that's like a dark, I think it's called cornfield blue or something like that, rather than like a light tealish color, which is usually what I see with light blue. And this regular old blue is actually very striking, and I like the way that looks, as well as the purple. Those two are like my favorite colors out of all of them. The red and orange are pretty similar, and the green, the light green, whoops, light green was actually giving me some trouble, and I actually went over it twice to make sure it was working. The first one I tested was this light blue one, and that one worked great right off the bat. It didn't really, some pens come with a little ball cap on them of wax that you have to take off, but that sometimes impacts when you start writing with it, it doesn't work right away. But the light blue one did work pretty well, so it might just be that the green one needs to loosen up a little bit, or I might need to cool it off, because as we're about to get into, these are erasable. So if we wanted to draw something, let's say it's a cat, because y'all know I'm getting a cat pretty soon. We just put together the cat tree tonight, so I'm drawing my cat, and I go to draw the body, but I made it way too small. So what I'd want to do is wait for the ink to dry, and then once the ink is dry, I can use the end of the, oh sorry, you can't even see that. I would use the end of the pen here and just erase it with friction, like so. And the ink is actually still there, but the friction makes it invisible, so if you look very closely you can see the outline of where it was. But then I can just go back and make the cat's body the right size, and then he's all well and good, you know, he's happy to be alive. So since these pens are erasable, they basically use friction, which means heat. So when you rub this end onto the paper, it creates heat, and that activates some kind of magical chemical in the ink to make it like disappear, in air quotes of course. But the actual product listing has said that you can actually write something, and then if you erase it and decide that you actually want that information back, you can just put the paper into the freezer for a couple minutes and it should come back. So I'm going to test that now. I'm actually gonna rip this cat right off of here, and I'm gonna go put him in the freezer, and I'll bring him back at the end of the video and we'll see if it worked. So the cat is in the freezer now. Don't call Animal Protective Services on me. I would never do that to the real cat, but the cat that's on the paper is in the freezer at this point, and now I'm just gonna give you a little bit of background information about these pens. So there are multiple color ranges available. The one that I have is the 10 color set because this is what was gifted to me to do this review. I'll put the price of this set right here. I'll also list in the description the prices of the different sets because there are different ones in the 10 color set. Now I just want to do a smear test because that is something that's very important if you're using these in your planner or your bullet journal, because since they're erasable, it's basically a pen that acts like a pencil. So if you want to write something down and then erase it, or maybe write something in temporarily and then at a later date you need to move it or something like that, these could be used for that. So we want to do a smear test. So we're gonna do, well, that one actually skipped a little bit for me.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And that still smeared a little bit. So let's go with 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
And if you can see that, it did smear a little bit over here, just on the like really wet parts. So I would say give it maybe 15 seconds before you close the page on it or something like that. But it isn't that big of a deal if it smears on something when you're not closing the page, because you can just erase the smeared part like that. But of course you might not want to put all the extra effort into doing that. So if you've seen the Pilot friction pens that are a similar concept to this, they actually have, I think there might be a clickable version, but I'm not sure. They have the eraser part, this rubber bit, on the end of the cap, so that if you put the cap on the end of the pen while you're writing, the eraser is on top. But these are different, so you have to keep the pen cap off of the actual body of the pen if you want to keep the eraser like open and usable, like so. It's not really something that would bug me, I think, but it could be like a design choice that you don't like, so that's why I'm telling you about it now. The Amazon product page does say not to use these on important documents, and they recommend them for like taking notes for school and I guess doodling. So, well, that's what I would do with them anyway. I would be doodling or taking notes. And I think that it's, one, really good that they said don't use it on important things, but two, I really want to make sure that if you're watching this and you buy these, you know not to do that. Don't go signing any official documents like selling your soul to Satan or something like that. Don't sign those with these, because if they are put into a hot environment, it's going to erase, because it erases with heat. The point of the friction is that it erases with heat from like rubbing together. But I've heard horror stories of people that use a similar type of pen in their planner and they leave it in their car, but they live in Texas, and then all of their important stuff is like erased. So you don't want to do that. But if you do happen to erase something that you don't want, you can still bring it back with the freezer. So I'm actually going to go test if the freezer has brought back the little tiny body on the cat, and I'll bring it back up here. So our little cat friend is back, and as you can see, he has his little tiny body is back. So it's not as like saturated as the rest of it, but it is still there. It came back, so we know that that part works. And in case you did accidentally erase something that you later needed, you could just put the page into the freezer and then it would come back. And that was in a fairly short amount of time. That was only about 5 minutes, so you could get your information back pretty quickly. So for the smoothness of these pens, it does advertise that they are smooth writing pens. So I'm just gonna write a little sentence and see if that's the truth. So here we go. I would say that is fairly smooth writing. If you know me, you know that I love Inkjoy gel pens, and those are like one of those like bougie $2 per pens, and it's like $15 for a set of them. But these are not that different. I mean, obviously they're not as smooth because those pens have like the rubber grip and the like clicker that makes them more high quality, and the size of the nib is actually the same as this size, 0.7 millimeters, and that's my preferred size to use. But the line is a little bit thinner than the Inkjoy, just because I think the Inkjoy has more ink coming out of the tip at the same time. So like rather than whatever's coming out of this, it would be like this and a half, and that makes it more smooth because it's like lubricated when you use it on the paper. But these aren't scratchy at all, and I like that. The page says that they are water-based, so we're gonna do a sniff test. And they don't smell like anything, so they don't smell like alcohol, which is good. It also says that they are non-bleeding, and I have chosen a piece of paper from my printer that was like a reject, so I don't know what's on the back, so I'm just gonna rip off a little corner that I know I can flip over. Here we go. Blank on the back. And then we're gonna run like a big chunk of ink on here just to see. And then I'll even go over part of it again so that we'll see if there's 2 layers, will it bleed. It kind of started doing that thing where the paper shows through, which is a little bit annoying, but I didn't let it dry fully when I did the second layer, so we'll just leave it like that. And I would say that didn't bleed through. It is shadowing a little bit. This is just plain printer paper, but it's not bleeding, so like nothing is coming through the paper to the other side, and that's good that it holds up to that. Overall, I think these pens are pretty good for the price. You get 1 pen for less than $1 each. They work pretty well. They hold up to all of the things that they say they can do and they can't do, and they do disappear with heat and come back with cold, which I found was really cool. And I don't actually think that friction, like Pilot Friction, advertises that you can bring back the ink with cold, but this brand does. And I think the way that the Amazon seller was interacting with me was very nice, and she made sure to say, make sure you give an honest review, and I value that in a seller, because really this review is just meant to say how the product is good and where it's failing. The only place that I really think it was failing was the smear test, since that took a good 15 seconds to clear up, and it might just be because the pens are new, but this light green one was not willing to work very well, and it's still a little bit like it's still a little bit like skipping out like that, but it's only one pen that's having that problem, so it could just be one faulty pen. But for the price of these, I think that it's worth it. I have bought pen sets in the past where it's like $1 and something per pen, and I think that's like a good price range, especially if you're buying a set with all these colors. The one thing that I would suggest for the colors is that maybe not have so many blues and instead give like a yellow or like a very light orange, because I see a lot of pens that have so many things down in this range, like blue and green, and then you only get like red, orange, pink. But I really like yellow, and I like using my pens to color with, especially when you have such a beautiful range of colors. I would like if there was a yellow one that I can use. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you liked this video. If you want me to do more reviews, you can suggest something for me to review in the comments, and I'll consider making a video about it, depending on the price. I am a college student on a budget, and you'll just have to keep that in mind when you suggest things for me to review. And hopefully coming soon, we'll be doing a 2018 planner flip through and 2018 bullet journal flip through, so I hope you're looking forward to those. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more of my content. You can hit the notification bell and it will notify you whenever I get a new video uploaded, which is usually once a week, and I'm trying to stick to Sundays. If you know anyone that is really into pens and stationery, you might want to share this video with them, and that actually really helps out my channel, and I super appreciate you for doing that. Bye!